Right, Jupiter, Moon for different ascendants. I'm just going to share the screen with you. Okay, so for Aries Ascendant, this will be an amazing thing because this will bring fourth house ruler, so angle ruler Moon, and Jupiter being the ninth house ruler and 12th house together. And remember, 12th house is not going to actually create any issues in terms of yogas. Yogas being like the combination of planets and signs that can give good sort of results for you of greatness. I mean, Raja Yoga, this created Raja Yoga, these two being together. So it's pretty amazing. So it's very good for success, and it's lovely for family life, 100%. Now, this could happen in any house, but as long as it doesn't happen in Virgo, this should be absolutely amazing. For it to occur in your first house will be really, really good, because what will happen is also will bless your seventh house and yourself too. So it'll definitely will give happiness in relationship, business partnerships, and work and career, definitely. And people will see you as somebody very respected, somebody with benevolent ways, and optimistic, and somebody wise and learned too. So on the ascendant, Jupiter will be both of them in friendly sign in Aries, and it will also be Jupiter will get directional strength and create a Dana Yoga and Raja Yoga as a result as well, because we'll be ninth house ruler, the trinal lord, going into the first house. So yeah, and they do create money and wealth. If it happens obviously in fourth house, will be amazing, because Jupiter will be exalted, ninth house ruler in the fourth house, exalted. So this will actually elevate everything even more. Obviously, it would be better if they were together, because if Jupiter Moon was to be in the 10th house in Capricorn, Moon will be a little bit kind of depressed by Saturn. But because both of them are benevolent planets, and if they're going to be aspecting Capricorn, and hopefully Saturn is not there, not like this chart, then what will happen is it will really bless the career as well. And there'll be ninth house ruler aspect in the 10th house, so they'll have this most respected of career as well. And obviously, if they were going to be in the 7th house, it's not terribly great, but it will be working really well if they were in a trine. So if they were going into Leo, will be good, and also if they were to be in Sagittarius too, that creates really nice situation. And not so good if it was in Scorpio, because Moon would then be debilitated, as will Jupiter debilitated if they were to be here in Capricorn. So as long as this happens as a conjunction in Aries, in Cancer, Leo, or Sagittarius, it would be good. Actually, even in the 12th house would be not so bad, because Jupiter is strong in own house, and Moon in the 12th house, it'd be like two planets that are very gives you two benefics in your house of sleep and a house of family as well. 12th house is bed pleasures and family life. So but it just means that you'll be maybe moving away from homeland. Right, next ascendant, Taurus. For you guys, what happens? This is not a very good planet for you. Neither of them really. Neither Moon rules third house. So generally speaking, Taurus ascendants, because they have like a very, very soft planet ruling their third house of courage and will, and fighting your own corner, self sort of like development in terms of saying your truth. It's not very strong house, so therefore they go through a lot of time in life where they have to struggle with like expressing how other people are making them feel in that sense. So that's not, but it's an Upachaya house, so it does get better with time. For them, Jupiter rules the 11th house, which is again another Upachaya house, so it does get better with time. But Jupiter also rules 8th house of sudden changes, etc. So for them, to actually get brave and stuff like that, so they have to really work hard at it to get that to express themselves really well. So this, again, is not going to create really good, it's definitely, not going to create really good yogas, for the sheer reason that it's actually not a good planet for neither of them are very good. However, if it happens in the third house, then Jupiter will be exalted, and that will mean that they get a lot of support from friends or siblings, and they learn to, but they will have a beautiful voice, they'll have fantastic communications, and they will be very, very good at they have wonderful friends, even though there'll be some changes in that should be, that kind of is pretty good. It's also going to be good if they were, both of them were in Leo, because Leo is the fourth house and Moon will have directional strength there, so that's really nice. And again, it's going to be pretty good if they're also in the 11th house, like this situation here, but generally speaking, not a great planet for them. And so even if it was in the 12th house, it would still, they're not great planets, but by the sheer fact that Jupiter rules the 8th house, if it goes into the 12th house, it does create, through sudden changes, difficulties, and all of that kind of stuff, letting go of things, then they can actually succeed. And but it will create expenditure for them, having Jupiter in the 12th house for them. Okay, because obviously it's a difficult planet for them. Right, so the next ascendant is here we go. This is where my right, Gemini ascendant. Jupiter rules two angles, 7th and 10th house. When it's with the 10th house ruler and 7th house ruler in with the Moon 2nd house ruler, then this creates a person who, just like through marriage or work, business partnerships, they can actually then kick in their 2nd house of money. Now, if this was to be occurring in the 11th house, which is Aries, it'll be great for wealth, because 2nd house will be in connection with the 11th house. So that would be amazing. It's also going to be good if it's obviously this occurs into their 10th house. The 10th house will be blessed. Jupiter own sign, Moon is 2nd house ruler in there, so that will be absolutely amazing for money. And if it happens for Jupiter and Moon being, as I said, in the 2nd house, that's pretty good too, because this is like Jupiter from there will be aspecting the 10th house, so career will be amazing. And also good if it happens to be in Sagittarius, Jupiter, although Jupiter is not great in the 7th house, but Moon would then help it being there. And because both of them are looking at the 1st house, they'll bless them too. And so that creates a Dana Yoga 2nd house ruler aspect in the 1st house, so that will be good. So in those terms, yes, for them will be really good in those, and it creates nice yogas for them. Moon makes money for them. Okay, so the next ascendant is Cancer ascendant. For them, obviously, Moon rules the 1st house, so it's a trinal and an angle house ruler. Now, Jupiter is kind of like a good planet, but it also breaks the yogas because it rules the 6th house. So even if, like in this situation here, as you can see, Jupiter and Moon are in the 9th house, which is fantastic. However, it's the 6th house ruler with the 1st house ruler, so it can create debts. Remember that Jupiter expands everything for better, for worse. So they could be like spending too much, because Jupiter is obviously idealistic. And so they have to be, father's health could be under pressure and things like that as well. So it's not the greatest one for them. So despite wherever it happens, it's going to have some difficulties attached to it, really. So, and for next ascendant, just want to say it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always like that, because 6th house is also upachaya. So once they learn the lessons that they got to learn about, like being service to others, being like have a really good diet, look after themselves, good exercise, good daily routine, that kind of eating well stuff like that, then they can actually improve. But it will take time for us to realize those things normally. Okay, so for Leo Ascendant, if Jupiter and Moon are together, so this will be 5th and 8th house ruler Jupiter, and Moon rules 12th house. So clearly being together, it creates like a Viprit Raj Yoga, where through difficulties, sudden changes, losses, etc., then suddenly they just come up, you know, like the lotus flower, go through all those murky water, and then they're triumphant. So yes, that will definitely create some seriously good opportunities for them, you know, after a certain amount of loss and learnings from that. And then they'll be triumphant, because also it's the 5th house ruler, getting a lot of help from the moon. So that's it. So for the next ascendant, Virgo Ascendant, Jupiter rules 4th and 7th house. So if Moon and Jupiter were to be like in the 4th house, Moon will have directional strength, and Jupiter will be in own sign. So that's absolutely amazing. So that's one of the really good placements. It'll be really good also if, as like to say, with this Moon and Jupiter together, although I would prefer them being in Sagittarius. Jupiter in the 7th house can be a little bit like picky, and yeah, so very choosy, that kind of thing. But it'd be 11th house ruler Moon aspect in the 1st house, so that's lovely, and 2 benefics aspect in 1st house is lovely. So it'd be really good for good friends, influential friends, having like a very you know, supportive, optimistic partner. You just can't ask for better, really, can you? And also this would be quite nice, obviously, in the 11th house, because that will be like Jupiter will be exalted, will also be aspect in the 7th house, so that's really protecting that house. And Jupiter will be exalted, Moon will be in own sign, so that would be amazing. Clearly we don't want Saturn to be sitting there. This is just an example. Okay, so then we have the next ascendant, Libra Ascendant. Jupiter is not a very good planet, rules Upachaya houses, which get better with time, 3rd and 6th house. So there's, you know, all the wisdom for of Jupiter will take time, will go through some difficulties, kind of enemies, learning skills, learning how to communicate, you know, that kind of thing. And things will get better. For the Moon rules 10th house, so it's an important planet for Libra. When it's coming together with Jupiter, these people, after learning lots of skills, going through quite a lot of, you know, service, working hard, stuff like that, they can start their own business, because when 3rd and 6th house and 10th house come together, this is somebody who can create their own through lots of self-effort and hard work. They can actually create their own job. In terms of yogas, slightly spoiled, because Jupiter obviously rules the 6th house, but it does get better with time, and they get more fruits as time goes by. For Scorpio Ascendant, this is really, really good. For this Ascendant, these really rule wonderful houses. So we have 2nd and 5th house ruler Jupiter, and then we have 9th house ruler Moon. So this will be amazing if it happens in, they got a conjunction in Sagittarius, in Pisces, or if they're together in the 9th house, Cancer, which Jupiter will be then exalted, Moon will be on own sign, and also will be really good if they're also here in the 10th house, because, you know, this will bring 2nd, 5th house ruler. Jupiter on its own can give them loads of money, really successful, and now in the 10th house, so the career will be really amazing. And Moon is also 9th house ruler in the 10th house, so that will create fantastic yogas, really. So that's pretty amazing. And if they're in Leo, Jupiter will be blessing the 2nd house of money, so it'd be amazing. That will be the most amazing Gajasari yoga, really, if it was to be there. So really good. But also oppositions will be, to some level, will be good, as long as obviously the planets have got some form of like here, for example, if Jupiter was in the 1st house, will be good, but it'd be better if Moon wasn't with her, it was in Taurus. So that way Moon will be exalted, will be 9th house ruler in the 7th house, exalted, and will be blessed by Jupiter, which is 2nd and 5th house ruler. So that would just create massive amount of yoga. It's really, really successful. Okay, so next one, For Sagittarius Ascendant, Moon rules 8th house, so it's not the greatest planet. But what happens is first and 4th house ruler is now in connection with the 8th house. So, there's always going to be changes for the person, changes to their home environment, moving home. They could have a changeable mum as well. So it doesn't really break any rules as such. They break any yogas, but it'll be really good, for example, if they were, say, for example, if Jupiter was there in the 4th house, or Moon in the 4th house, and Jupiter the other, although neither planet do that well in Virgo, but what it will do, Jupiter from here will aspect own sign and protect the 4th house, and Moon gets directional strength there. So that's helpful. But so for this, if it happens in the 1st house, it's good, but it's also 8th house ruler in the 1st house, and 8th house can be accidents. So I wouldn't really say that's that great. And so yeah, this could be slightly difficult in that sense. So because of the nature of Moon will be malefic. So in that sense, so obviously, if it was in the 9th house, they're both friendly signs, but it's again going to challenge the education and father in that sense. If it goes into the 5th house, which is like house of children, again, it's going to be quite difficult too. So this could be for them, Moon is not the greatest planet. I guess what it can really do, if Moon was to be exalted, there will be quite nice with because that will create like a Viparit Raja Yoga through difficulties and changes and everything else. They actually and service will help them as well. So that, because it's a malefic planet for them, going into another malefic planet will be good. But it's better if Jupiter was here, for example. But really, to be truthful, I don't think it's going to be that great for Sagittarius ascendants. But that situation where Moon is there and Jupiter's here will help most, even though Jupiter doesn't really like Virgo. So next one. And actually, I suppose that could be the same if Jupiter was here and Moon was in Mercury sign. That could be another one. Jupiter will be in very, very strong position, but then it does give difficulties with partnerships a little bit. They could be up and down. Okay, Capricorn Ascendant. For you guys, Jupiter is not a good planet, and Moon rules your 7th house. So, that is going to impact like relationships, partnerships, and also the that kind of thing, really. So there could be like 12th house is losses, expenses, so they could be really good at Jupiter in its own being there, what it is there. So it could just be that actually with the plan communications will really elevate relationships, because obviously Moon rules the 7th house. If it's in the 3rd house, for example, Jupiter is strong, and Jupiter from there is aspect in the 7th house, which is lovely. Jupiter in the 12th house doesn't do too badly, and it rules Sagittarius. So if it was to be there, and say, for example, if the Moon was there, it's still 7th house ruler in the 6th house. So that's not going to be great. And so again, if it was in the 4th house together, that could work quite nicely in the sense, but it would just mean that 12th house ruler will go into the house of mother. So it could just be that the mother has had maybe some health issues, something like that. But it could also be that you've left homeland as well, in a sense, live abroad. And if it was to be in Cancer, so Moon will be very strong. Jupiter is also exalted, but it's not a very good planet because it rules 12th and 3rd house. So there could be just some efforts that you need to put into things in order to get this going, and there'll be some losses and expenses involved. And if they are in Scorpio, so it will be again, it creates a lot of expenses. So not terribly good for Capricorn Ascendant. Jupiter isn't. Right, next Ascendant. Aquarius Ascendant. So Jupiter becomes now the planet that rules money. However, it's going to be like with 6th house ruler, which is debts. So obstacles, enemies. So your money could bring you like enemies, because could bring jealousy or something like that. So yeah, I wouldn't really say that was particularly good, whether they are in conjunction with each other or opposite each other. So I mean, obviously it could be that they're both together in the 6th house. So through service and hard work, you could, you know, things could elevate, but there will be some difficulties involved in that, really. So you see, this is it. Nothing is straightforward, is it? So, but, you know, obviously it probably will be better if they were in opposition to each other, rather than to, like, for example, if Moon supposed to be in the 8th house, aspecting might be better, because Jupiter is protecting own sign then. So that's pretty good. But generally it doesn't work so well for them. Okay, so next one, Jupiter Moon for Pisces Ascendant. This is lovely because Moon rules 5th house, wonderful trinal house, and Jupiter rules 1st and 10th house. So wow, having it there is amazing. In the 1st house, Jupiter will have directional strength, own sign, and they could become great advisors. 5th house as advisors. They could be great teachers. They could be spiritual teachers, history teachers. They can work in politics or something. 5th house politics, investments. It creates money as well. 5th house ruler in the 1st house. And yeah, so this is great there. It'll be also great if it was also in the 10th house. So 5th house and 10th house ruler together in there will create a fantastic Raja Yoga. It'll also be like a Hamsa Yoga as well. So yeah, it's for greatness. So whether or not it's in Pisces, Cancer or Sag, it'd be amazing. The other houses that can actually work, I'm trying to think, maybe in the 2nd house will not be too bad, because Moon will create money as well. 5th house ruler in the 2nd house, that connection, and then Jupiter 1st house ruler in the 2nd house. That again creates money and creates a nice family unit there too. That could be good. But other houses, I think they're going to be a little bit difficult in that sense. So, and even if Moon was here in Virgo, it's not really, doesn't like being in Virgo, but still, you know, 5th house ruler in the 7th house creates a Raja Yoga, and Jupiter will be like creating yogas aspect in the 7th house, or the Moon 5th house ruler. So that's it. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you for watching.